on my shoulder. Hold me in your arms.
Hey guys, so I just wanted to hop on here and finally talk about my labor story. So I gave birth 8 months ago already. Time has gone by so fast, I can't even believe it. So I have to go back to February, even though I gave birth in March, and start from there. So I got stuck in this thing called prodromal labor, which means basically you're in false labor and it can last a week, a month. It's awful. You get really intense contractions and they can go on for like 24 hours at a time. And you think you're in labor. So you start the counting, I don't even remember what it is, like 533 or whatever it is. I don't know. But you are keeping track of your contractions, your timer's on, your hospital bag is packed, your car seat is installed, and you get to the hospital and they're like, no, you haven't dilated at all. Okay, sweet. So you go back home, you take a hot bath, a warm bath, and you wait for it to start again. So that happened to me pretty much all of February. I actually flew my mom down at one point because I had contractions all night. All I could think was like, this is it. She's going to miss it. I got to get her here. So I can't remember exactly the date, but I think it was sometime in the last week of February. So I would have been 37 weeks. I had contractions start at like 10 o'clock at night, and they were so severe by 1 a.m. that I was pacing the halls, like doubled over in pain. I finally caved, called my mom, told her she had to book like the 7 a.m. flight. I woke John up and we dropped his girls over to their mom's house. It's 2 a.m.
It's 2 a.m. Oh, God.
Where are we going?
It's 2 a.m. and here we are going to the hospital.
We got there, I got checked in by like 4 a.m. They were monitoring my contractions. They were like, I think like a 9 out of 10 on their scale. So we thought like this was the thing. And they told me like, okay, so you're only a centimeter dilated. You have the option to like stay here, have pain management, aka like an epidural, or go home and try to like labor it out yourself. And at that point, I did not want an epidural. I wanted to go all natural. I am terrified of needles, like to the point that I didn't want an epidural and wanted to have a natural labor just because I didn't want an IV. I didn't want an epidural. And I was terrified of like the long-term effects that everyone scares you about for the epidural. So I went home and I felt like I was in labor until 8 o'clock in the morning. I finally fell asleep at about 6:30 in the morning. Like I'm pretty sure I just dropped down out of fatigue. I had light contractions when I woke up and then it stopped. Yay. So my mom flew down anyways. Nothing for 2 days. Then finally on the third day that she was here, contractions started again and we were super excited and then they stopped. Sweet. So after I think 5 days of being here, my mom flew home and that's when I like really started to try everything to get my labor to start. I was in my 38th week of pregnancy. So like that's full term. I'm really, really petite. I should have probably started with this. I'm 5'2" on a good day. Maybe if we count my bum. And pre-pregnancy, I was 108 pounds. So my family physician told me right from the get-go, like, hey, listen, if you end up having a baby that like, is over like 6-ish pounds, you're really narrow, like you will probably need a C-section. So I was like really concerned getting towards the end of my pregnancy because I had a growth scan and they told me that at 34 weeks, my baby was 5 pounds already. So that was delightful. So at 38 weeks, I was like, hey, like, let's get this baby out. Come on. Like, I really want this natural delivery. I don't want her to get stuck. I don't want my body to be too narrow to deliver. So I was like pacing the malls, like speed walking through our biggest malls. I was literally climbing up. I climbed 10 flights of stairs and back down like twice a day. It didn't work. I tried playing Just Dance on my Xbox with my stepkids for like 2 hours.
In the beginning, I was worrying too much about the scoreboard and my brain was still hurting. But then as we got like...
watch that belly.
I wish they had.
It's so hilarious. Oh my goodness.
Here come the arms.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, work it. Yes, choreography.
Yeah, nothing worked. So finally I had my 39-week appointment, and like I was basically like breaking down in my OB's office. I was like, listen, you need to induce me. It's not even the fact that like I just don't want to be pregnant anymore. Like I just am very concerned that she's not going to fit. Like, what do we do? So turns out the legislation for Ontario hospitals actually changed. You can no longer be induced for baby size. They decided that's not a thing. So she couldn't induce me early. She told me I had to wait until I was at least 39 weeks and like plus 2 days or something. So I was scheduled that week. But because my induction was technically like a voluntary induction, I wasn't put at the top of the list. I had to wait until all of the priority cases were done. So that was scheduled for Friday. They were super busy. It got pushed to Saturday. Saturday was also super busy. Nothing. No call. I called like 100 times. My mom actually like went to the hospital and like looked at the list herself because she's psycho. And yeah, I was like not anywhere near the top of the list. So again, Saturday, we tried like everything to get my labor to start naturally. We like opened up my breast pumps that I had, the electric ones. And like, I followed some like system that I read online. It was like, you pump for 10 minutes, stop, pump for another 10 minutes. And then when contractions start, like you pump for another 10 minutes and you keep doing that until contractions continue. It worked. My contractions did start. I just like didn't go into like actual labor again. We got super desperate. We tried the midwives brew. Do not recommend. I like was not okay. I like projectile vomited at a wall. Yeah, that was like a new low of my life. Yeah, don't do that. If your body is not ready to go into labor, like it's not gonna work. So just don't be me. Don't do it. So finally Sunday came along. I got the call. I was on the list. They would call me. So I was like ready. Sunday all day, like I was ready. I took a nap. I like showered. I like shaved, did my like hair, packed my makeup bag, like everything. I was ready. That was the longest day of waiting of my life. Okay. They called me at 11 o'clock at night. I had just like curled up into bed and I was like, they're not calling today. I suck. Like it's Monday. Fine. I'll have a Monday, baby. Whatever. So they call. Thank God. So I like got ready, rushed over there. You know, my mom sprung into action. So I got there. They broke my water at midnight. And so I walked around, like my contractions started immediately. So I was really happy that like I didn't think I needed the IV drip of Pitocin. So I was like, yeah, I don't need it. Like this is moving along. Like no needles. Wrong. So I labored naturally for 8 hours from midnight until 8 a.m.
You. Yes, you. Come on.
My contractions started out every 5 minutes apart for the first hour. Then afterwards, they were every 3 minutes apart for like 4 hours. Then from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., like they were just back to back to back to back. One contraction would be like at its like peak and it would start to go down. And then the next one would start up. And like, it was so awful, like so awful. Like I did not have time to like take a break between contractions and like regain myself or like have a sip of water. I don't know. Didn't have time for any of that. Yeah, like it was so bad that I would throw up between contractions and then like stop. And then I'd be at the peak of the contraction and then it would come back down and start all over again. I was like bawling my eyes out. I was screaming. Like it was awful. Like I probably traumatized people in the other rooms. Like yeah, I'm sure all the other women waiting to start their labors like just immediately got epidurals because like I was psycho in my room. I would like a contraction would start. I would be sitting in one place and then I don't even know what would happen. Like I would just see black and then I'd open my eyes again. I was on the other side of the room, like squatting and like screaming at my mom or my fiance or the nurse. Yeah. So then finally the nurse came in and was like, hey, listen, like you've been in labor for a while. Like, let's check you. Like you're doing great. Like, I think you're going to be really dilated. Like this has been hours of hard labor. So I'm like dying at this point. They checked me and guys, I went to the hospital at 2 centimeters dilated. Do you know what I was dilated? 2.5 centimeters dilated in 8 hours. Half a centimeter. Half. Okay. I just started like bawling my eyes out. It was like, I cannot like do this for another 8 hours and like not progress. Like what is going on? So they were like, no, like the first centimeter is the hardest. Like after that, like it really, like things really start to flow. Like it's okay. So I'm like, okay. So then like the nurse kind of saw, I think my defeat a little bit. So she's like, we need to put an IV in now before things get too crazy and like just in case. And I'm like, I don't want it. Like I start crying. I'm like, I can't do this. Like I have a phobia of needles. Like I was immediately sweating. Like I was more afraid of the needles than these contractions that literally were like killing me. So I don't have a choice at this point. Like they put the IV in. I like cried hysterically for like 10 minutes. Uh-oh, my little baby is up. Maybe she'll play for a few minutes. So after that, I just like caved. They checked me again. Like maybe 45 minutes later, I was still at the exact same spot. And I just like looked at John and I was, I can't do this. I can't do this. And he's like, you don't have to. You don't have to be in this amount of pain. Like you can get an epidural. Like this can be an enjoyable process. I'm like, I don't want it. Like I'm gonna have back issues. The baby's gonna be poisoned. Like it's a needle in my spine. Like what if I'm paralyzed? I was losing it. And he's like, okay, well, like you suffer or you take a risk and get this epidural that literally everyone gets now and they're all fine. Like I was like, okay, like you have a point. So they came and like fixed my IV at one point and the nurse like jabbed the IV and this was so awful. Like just out of like a overreaction, I slapped her hand. Oh my God. She like called me out and was like, did you just slap me? Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, so yeah, she made fun of me for a while and kind of gave me like some dirty looks here and there. And then the anesthesiologist came in and timed the epidural between my contractions. It was so hard to sit still during like the procedure of actually putting in the epidural because my contractions were just awful. And I just like, you have to lean forward and they put the epidural like in your spine. So like, imagine you have your big belly there, it's contracting. So the last thing you want to be doing is putting additional pressure on it. And there's like the fear of God that there's this, like a needle going in your spine. Okay. No, I just won't move. It's cool. So that took a while. Yeah, I cried through that as well. And then all of a sudden the anesthesiologist was like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah. He like presses the button and this cold fluid like filled my like back and like gave me a shiver. And then the pain was gone. Like, and I was just so mad at myself. I was like, I just suffered for so long and now I don't even feel anything like at all. We were watching the contractions on the screen and they were like, oh, look, it's at its peak. Oh, look, there's another one. Oh, look. Didn't feel anything. Like I was having contractions back to back to back. They weren't even lowering from their peak before I'd have another contraction. So I was great. I asked for Jello. I wanted my cell phone. I like was checking my Instagram DMs, replying to my friends that like were very worried at this point. Cause I like messaged them like I'm in labor and then never replied again. Yeah, I was taking selfies. Like I was great. Oh yeah. And eating ice chips. Those actually help. I didn't know why, but they help. So that was like 9 a.m. I hung out, hooked up to my little system until about 9 o'clock at night. And then like things kind of took a turn. I started to feel ill and like really sleepy, like just really, really medicated. I had a really hard time like feeling emotion because I guess the epidural is like a hormone blocker. Like, so it's like a really big like downer. Like I remember at one point like trying to be funny and like my voice came out like this and like I couldn't even change the tone of my voice. I couldn't anything. And And then I got a fever. And then they started to get like a little bit concerned. And then the baby's heart rate started to go a little bit crazy. Like it was spiking up to 220 at one point, and then it dropped down to 70, which is really crazy. Like her heart rate for the rest of my labor was sitting comfortably at like 130. And like to see it spike at 220 was like really scary. So I had made like the mistake of going in, and when they asked me what my labor wishes were, like I said, I wanted it natural. So they were really doing everything possible to avoid a C-section. However, so they came in and they were like really sugarcoating things, but I was done. Like I was worried for her heart rate. I was feeling really ill, and like, you know, like, let's discuss your options. You know, we can continue, we can keep trying, but it's almost been 24 hours. So we don't like to go past that. I'm like, I know how this works. Bring the pages in. Let me sign them. I want the C-section. I want this over. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I think my baby's in danger. Like, they're like, no, it's okay. We're monitoring it. Like, she's okay. We lowered your Pitocin. Like, she's okay. And I'm like, no, like, I'm done. Like, sign the pages, wheel me in. I don't even care. Like, at this point, I wasn't even afraid of a C-section. That was it. Get it out. Get it over with. So within seconds, like I signed a page, they wheeled me in. They gave me a stronger version of an epidural. And then they started like pricking me with like a dull needle up my body to see if I could feel it. And the very second that I could no longer feel my belly button, the like surgeon came in and like started cutting. John wasn't even in the room yet. I just like looked over and I was like, where's John? And a nurse ran out and grabbed him, and he was literally putting his scrubs on, like, and tying it as he's like walking the room. Like I don't know what they were doing. Like, I don't know if they forgot him or like the surgeon just started really fast. I don't know. But, okay, I gotta get Isabella. Hang on. Okay. Belly's in the video now. We just had a poop explosion. Had to give her a little bath, and we're back. Okay. So as I was saying, the surgeon just started cutting immediately, and it was the most like weird experience. So as he was cutting through each layer of my body, he's like telling me, he's like, oh, we made it through the soft tissue. We made it through the muscle. Like, so weird. And then like from the time I was wheeled in to the time he was done cutting me open, it was like 10 minutes. It was super fast. And he was just like, hey, look up. And so I like open my eyes. I have to add that the epidural makes you really, really shaky because it's such like I don't even remember why, but you just shake. Like it was so bad that like my teeth were shattering so much that the nurses actually came over and they're like, hey, if you can't control like your mouth, we have to give you like a gauze put between your teeth because you can chip your teeth. And like that's happened before, which is concerning. So the surgeon holds her over the blue tarp that they cover you with. And I looked up and all I saw was this shriveled up little baby. And she literally just takes her head and just goes, what? Did you come out 5 months old? Like, what do you? And the surgeon was like, wow, you got a strong one. Okay, great. Passing my baby. So they bring her over, but because I was literally frozen from like the neck down, like I could barely like move my arms over to like touch her face. I was like, okay, hi baby. And then they took her away and they did all her like measurements and her weight and checked for, I think, jaundice, all that fun stuff. And I was just like left laying there while they like wheeled her away, and John got to go do all that stuff. So I like teared up a little bit while I was by myself and while I was getting like stitched up. And then they wheeled me out, and it was the cutest thing ever. Like before I even made it out of like that operating room, she already started trying to nurse. She was like pecking at me with her little face. It was so cute. So because I was having to stay in the hospital after the C-section, we upgraded to a private room, which I highly recommend. I had family coming in and out at all hours. I wasn't concerned about, keeping my roommate awake or anything. We were by ourselves. It was so peaceful. Like, it's the same price as a hotel room, isn't it? So just do yourself a favor and splurge on that a little bit. You agree? It was peaceful? Okay. And then after that, like, honestly, things were pretty relaxed. Like, the nurses were so helpful with the baby. I went to a lactation class in the hospital, which I recommend doing. Although I, did my research and I thought I was okay with breastfeeding. They did a couple little correcting things that really helped her latch, which I'll do another video on another time whenever she decides to sleep again. So never. So all these things were so helpful. And then I got discharged really early because, so I gave birth at 11:23 p.m. I stayed one night in the hospital and got discharged the following morning because I really pushed myself. I'm a pusher. And I like got up right away as soon as my legs weren't frozen anymore. I got up, went to the washroom, and I walked the halls, and like the nurses were like, okay, you don't have to be here anymore. I was like, okay. And I think being of that mentality really sped up my recovery for the C-section. I know some women are like down for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like I went out for lunch, I think 3 or 4 days later, like we walked down the road to a main street and went out for lunch. We visited her godparents. Like I was okay. It was fine. And I just couldn't wait to be a real human again and not walk around with a watermelon and not waddle. So anyways, that's my pretty intense labor story. But all that matters is we're here, we're healthy, we're striving, we're thriving. That's the word. Okay. And she's super cute and crazy. Anyways, if you're still watching, thanks for listening to my labor story. I hope I didn't traumatize anyone. Above all else, I will say I would do it again. So, I mean, hey, can't be that bad, right? I would do it again. So that should be encouraging or something. I don't know. Trying to save us here. Okay. If you like my video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And maybe we'll see more of Belly in the future. Will you be my co-star? No? Okay. Love you guys. Bye.
Isabella.